Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for Finding Carter, Season 1, Episode 12, 1 Hour Photo, and this was the season finale, and wow, was this such a great finale. What a great way to close the season. That is how you do a season finale, seriously. Everything in this finale was absolutely fantastic. Everything in the show, period, has been fantastic. Everything has been fantastic. I've had no issues from the show. From the beginning, I've had no issues with the show at all, and this episode was no exception. I had no issues with it. And this episode was just absolutely fantastic. I loved everything about it. My only complaint is we have to wait till 2014 for the next second season. MTV, whatever, but seriously, 2014. Especially that huge cliffhanger at the end, which I was not expecting, and I just love this episode. Thought it was fantastic. Now, there were two plots in this episode that we are going to talk about, but I'm not going to go plot by plot, because if you guys know, with season finales, I just talk about it as one thing. So, let's just get to the episode. The beginning of the episode, I really liked it. Basically, Carter is getting rid of everything related to Crash. She's basically trying to move on from him. She goes through a notebook, and I thought that was a good way to start the episode. You know, she's trying to get over, Crash, because she's kind of become a new person now. She's trying to get rid of that bad thing that happened to her, all the bad things that happened to her. And, I mean, even though she's not going to be able to just, get away from it all, it is sort of her starting to have some closure, because she does want to have closure. And, she finds this notebook, with a bunch of, stuff that she had from Crash, and she finds this notebook and sees a code. And she's not sure what it is. And she goes down to tell Elizabeth about it, and Elizabeth sees Carter with the number from her old apartment that her and David used to live into. This was the first apartment that they lived in together. And they trace it to a photo center in a neighborhood, and they go there and everything. Now, I was like, this is very interesting. This makes perfect sense why the episode's called 1 Hour Photo. Because most of this episode is Elizabeth and Carter trying to find out more about these pictures and things like that. And Carter picks up photos of her parents from 3 years before she was born, she picks up photos of her parents from 3 years before she was born, and she's just shocked, because how did she get these photos? Because they were taken 3 years before she was born, and I thought that was a very good way to start the episode. That was really awesome right there. That was really, really good. So, Elizabeth then gets a call from a girl named Claire Gregory, who is supposedly a youth counselor, and she suggests that Carter get some therapy for the trauma in her life. And, the moment that this happened, I'm like, there is no way this is an actual youth counselor, because it seemed kind of clear to me that it was Lori. You could just tell the way the episode was going to go. Plus, we knew Lori was returning. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. If it's Lori, it'll make sense. So, Carter then comes down, and she sees Elizabeth stealing something, and, kind of hiding something. She thinks they're cookies. She even said they might be porn. That was kind of a funny scene. But we find out they're actually little notes that David used to send her, and he has started doing it again, and I thought that was a cute scene, because it's like, David is trying to fix his marriage now, and, again, he's kind of abandoned the whole, thing about finding Carter. He's abandoned that, and I thought that was a good scene, definitely. And she then shows Elizabeth the picture found, and Elizabeth is asking where she got the pictures, and Carter says she got it from Lori. So, David doesn't understand how Lori took the pictures, because this was taken 3 years before they even knew her. So, I was just like, what? This episode had a lot of what the fuck moments. Bear with me. This episode has a ton of what the fuck moments, just so you guys know. It's probably the most what the fuck moments in any episode of Finding Carter so far. And this episode probably had the most what the fuck moments out of any episode. So, he doesn't understand Lori took the pictures. And Elizabeth finally comes clean and finally tells Carter the truth. And I thought this was a very good reveal, the way this was done, because it definitely does make sense. Because if you remember in the first episode, Elizabeth and David, they said they knew her. They said she was a family friend of theirs. They didn't really go into much detail after that, though. Probably because, Carter was afraid. But now that Carter, has been living with them for 3 weeks now, she kind of understands the way things are. 3 weeks. And now that, that's happened, she kind of understands the way that things are going. And Elizabeth finally feels it's time to tell her. So she tells her the truth, and this was awesome when she finally told her the truth. I love that we found out what actually happened here. She tells Carter that Lori apparently stalked the family before Carter and Taylor were even born, and she had moved into the neighborhood so she could be near them. And that's huge. And Elizabeth says she let her into their home, let her play with their with Carter and Taylor when they were 3 years old, and they were friends. And now Elizabeth feels like an idiot because the only reason Lori did that was so she could, kidnap Carter. And, they never knew if she actually wanted a 3-year-old daughter or what she really wanted, but basically she feels like an idiot because of that. And I understand that definitely. Now, Carter, though, doesn't understand how this makes sense. Because think about it. Why would she wouldn't just kidnap Carter because she wants a 3-year-old daughter. There is something called adoption. Adoption here. You don't just kidnap someone because you want a 3-year-old daughter. I think she pretty much did at a ransom. That could have been a reason why, because Elizabeth said she didn't really have a job at the time, and she was working for them, and she doesn't think she had much of a job at the time, so maybe Lori did it for ransom, for money, so she could have some money. That could make sense, but I don't know. That right there, what she said, I agree with Carter. That doesn't really, that's a lot of information, but it doesn't really all make sense. And she doesn't understand if this makes any sense because she wouldn't have just taken care of Carter because she wanted a 3-year-old daughter. And Elizabeth tells her she said she was going to stop looking for Lori, a while ago. She's not going to, she's going to forget about this. But Carter says she wants her to continue, but on one condition. And she tells her she wants to help her get Lori, get her caught. And when she said that, I'm like, okay, this episode is going to be completely awesome. And I can't wait for, to see what happens next. So Elizabeth asks Carter if she really wants to do this because a couple of days ago, she said she was her mother. If you remember, Carter kept referencing Lori as my mother, she's my mother. Elizabeth is just, Elizabeth is just my, someone I live with. Lori's really my mother, and, now Carter sort of thinks of it a little bit different because she's now starting to really appreciate Elizabeth as her mother, and I really do like that. I like that she's appreciating her more as her mother, because I like Elizabeth, definitely. And, basically, she really wants to help out Elizabeth and everything, and Elizabeth asks Carter if she really wants to do this because, she said she was, because she always thought of Lori as her mother, and Carter says she doesn't even know her real name, or if Lori even cared about her, and just took her to hurt Elizabeth, which makes sense, because the thing is, Carter didn't even really know her. She lied to her for 13 years, so Carter at this point is just like, you know what? How can I love someone who's lied to me for 13 years? It makes sense, because think about it. 13 years she has lied to her. How could Carter believe her after that? How could Carter ever believe anything she says after that? So Carter at this point is just like, you know what? I don't care that I lived it for 13 years. You guys are my real family. You guys know the truth, and I want to hunt Lori. It's that simple. She wants to hunt her. So basically, Carter then gets a text, and she finds out very good news. Max is awake, which we knew from the end of last week's episode. And they go over to the hospital to visit Max, and, Max is pretty much an asshole this entire episode. This entire episode, Max is pretty much an asshole, which makes sense because of the critical condition he's in. It does make sense that he's an asshole because this whole show, he has been one of the sweetest people on the entire show. He has not done anything really bad. He's not done anything really that, he hasn't really done anything bad at all. So, he's pretty much been a flawless character throughout the entire show, and for him to just be in this bad mood, it made sense, definitely. Even though he's awake, he's not all the way stable, but he needs a little rehab, and he should be fine. He then apologized for sounding depressed, and he says he feels like the guy bringing down the room here, and Grant and him reconnect as if they were real brothers over his grades, and I thought that was a good scene. We find out that Grant's failing, and it's kind of just like a brother sort of thing. I always like the brotherly friendship between the two of them. I really like that. So Elizabeth then tells Carter that she has found new information, and, she's found new information about the house, and, basically the house across the street, and Carter found the pictures that there is an apartment complex, and she asks Carter if she knows anyone there, and Carter says she doesn't, and she tells Elizabeth that she does know that Lori was living there under the name Catherine Riley, and that could very possibly be Lori's real name, because if you remember, Lori's not her real name. Her real name probably is Catherine Riley. So I'm not going to call her Catherine because they haven't confirmed it yet. I'm still going to call her Lori, but I'm pretty sure they're going to confirm that her real name is Catherine Riley. I'm pretty sure they're going to confirm that. So she tells Elizabeth that she does know that Lori was living there, basically, and Elizabeth then shows David the list, and he says he doesn't know the names on the list either, and he goes off to work. So Elizabeth tells Carter about the therapy, and Elizabeth tells her how she is concerned about her because she never talks to anyone, and it's true. Carter's never really talked to anyone about her situation. She kind of just forgets about it. She doesn't make it seem like a big deal. She's like, you know, it's fine. I'm not going to make it a huge deal here. And she tells her how she's very concerned about her because she never talks to anyone. The therapy's good for her because she doesn't even mention Crash, and she doesn't seem to even care that, you know, Crash. She really loved Crash, and she hasn't even talked about him since Elizabeth caught him. She hasn't talked about him since then. So, Elizabeth's concerned about her because of that. And Carter has not been going to school ever since the whole Max thing. And Elizabeth says that she needs to take some time off from school because if she goes to therapy, this might help her, and I agree with Elizabeth, you know. In a situation like that, you need to take some time off from school. The situation that Carter was in, definitely, she does need to take time off from school. I agree with what Elizabeth said there, definitely. She does need to take time off from school because of, you know, what happened and everything. I definitely do agree with that. So, basically, she tells, what happens over this? She tells Carter about the therapy and everything. And Carter says she's trying to figure out about him, but Elizabeth tells her if she doesn't talk to her, she has to talk to someone. So Carter expects, you know, to see a therapist there. When she opens up the door, though, guess who's there? It's Lori. And I predicted that. I told you guys. I predicted that it was going to be Lori at the door. I predicted she was going to be there. And in fact, it was Lori. And I thought that was a really good twist, in my opinion, when that was done. I really liked that, definitely. Really good twist there. And it turns out the therapist is actually Lori in disguise. And Carter is obviously very shocked to see her. She didn't expect to see her mother there. And she lets her in, and Carter's alone while this is happening, which is not a good thing because Lori cannot be trusted right now. And she tells her this is weird, and Lori asks how Elizabeth and David are treating her. And she tells her that she missed her. And they catch up about her new life and everything. And Lori's very upset that she didn't get her back, and she wants to tell Carter the truth. But she kept putting it off, and she's most upset. David and Elizabeth told her what she calls their side of the story. Because apparently there's a better side of the story that Lori has that, you know, David and Elizabeth did not tell her. Now, it's pretty much bullshit, because we know that David and Elizabeth they experienced it. They're the people that went through this. We know that they are the ones that went through this. We know that we can trust them, that sort of thing. So, when Lori said that, it's pretty much bullshit what she's saying then. When she's saying that, you know, they told her their side of the story, they told her the true story. Lori is going to make it seem like she's the victim here, because Lori just wants her daughter back. She's going to do anything to get Carter back, obviously. So, she says that Elizabeth and David lied about it. She was their stalker, and, you know, Lori's enraged. She asks where they got the idea, and Carter says they knew from the pictures. And it makes sense. I mean, Carter at this point does not seem to be upset at Elizabeth or David because she knows the truth. She just does not want to see her mom right now because she knows that when she sees her mom, it's going to be when she's arrested. She knows that for a fact, and it's really sad to watch because you don't want Carter to be reunited with Lori, and it's really sad because it's putting a lot more pressure on Carter. Oh my god, that's terrible lighting. Sorry, guys. You know, you don't really want her to be reunited with Lori because you know that if she is reunited with Lori, that it's not going to be good for her. But at the same time, you know, Elizabeth and David are the ones she cares about now, are her true parents, and I like that Carter really just did not want to see Lori, but she wasn't rude to her. She just like, please leave, please, I can't do this right now. And Carter tells her they should not have had those 13 years, and, you know, Lori's just enraged at this, you know, because she really does care about Carter. Well, she claims she does. She said her whole life was a lie, and Lori says Elizabeth and David lied about it too, and she asks what Elizabeth and David said about her, and, you know, she then tells her and everything, and, basically she asks Lori if they're lying to her, and Lori doesn't say anything. Instead, she gives Carter this very mysterious envelope, and when she gave her this envelope, I didn't know what was going to happen. This envelope is an envelope that she was going to give to David, and apparently it's something that, it's a photo that she took, something of David, some sort of photo that she took of him. And she tells her she still loves her, and asks who her real mom is, her or Elizabeth, and Carter tells her she's sorry, but this is her home, and she leaves, and Carter cries, because again, she really did not want to see Lori right now, she just didn't want to, it put too much pressure on her. So, Taylor is then at the hospital with Max, and you can see right away that Taylor is just being way too giving to Max. She is doing way too much for him. She's not letting him have any freedom, basically. She's there with all kinds of foods that he likes, and he tells her he's not hungry, and he's being very rude to her. Now, it makes sense why he's being rude to her, though. It's not like he's just being an asshole to be an asshole. He was in a very critical condition, and she is just there with him, and he really doesn't want her to be there because of what he's going through. She doesn't want him to have to deal with it and see him like this. He just does not want her to see him like this, and, you know, basically, you know, he tells her he's not hungry, and he's upset that he can't do what he wants to do, and there's nothing he can do about it, and he's scared, you know. He can't go back to his job because he has to stay in the hospital. He can't do anything because he has to stay in the hospital, and he's worried he's not really going to get out of there. So, he is really scared, and she asks how she can help him. He tells her she can't, but Elizabeth can, because all he cares about at this point is he needs to see the tape of the mini-mart, and asks Taylor to bring it to him. So, basically, that's what he wants to do, is he needs to bring that tape to the mini-mart. So then David comes home, and Carter's there, and she tells him she saw Lori, and he is shocked that she was there, because obviously he didn't expect to see her there. So she shows him the envelope, and he opens it up, and it's a picture of him sleeping from 1997. What the fuck? Seriously. What the fuck? That doesn't make any sense at all. Like, he's just sleeping? Doesn't make sense to me at all, because they didn't even know Lori in 1997. Well, they claimed they didn't. They claimed they did not know Lori in 1997. And, that's really weird that happened, definitely. That's definitely very weird. And, that's just weird, really. That's just weird. And, David's asking where she got that picture, because obviously it's a picture of him that he never knew that she took, so, you know, it seems that he does know that she took that picture, though. He seems to know that. So, Carr says that Lori said she took it, and she asked him if he knew her in 1997, and he asks her how she can believe him after all, how she can believe her after all she has done, and she tells David she can't trust him either, which is true, because he's seeming very, very sketchy right now. Definitely what he is saying, he is seeming very, very sketchy. Like, it does not seem like you can trust him at all, and, I definitely was losing trust for David here, definitely. This scene that was going on, definitely I was losing trust for David. You could just tell I was losing trust for David. And the thing with David is definitely hiding something. There is something he's not telling them, and I'm very interested in seeing what it is that he's not telling Carter, because we don't find out what it is after this. This is not brought up again. It's not. So, I'm wondering what's going to actually happen there. I feel like something happened between Lori and David. They either knew each other or something happened. I honestly don't know what happened between Lori and David, but there's obviously something he is hiding from Carter. No doubt about it, there's something he's hiding from her. So, then what happens is, you know, after this, Elizabeth confronts Max at the hospital because, you know, he needs that tape, and she tells him, you know, to give him the tape. She says, look, I don't want to give you the tape. You know, we care so much about you, and you don't need the tape. And he kicks her out. He says, you know, get the hell out of here, and Elizabeth then talks to Taylor and tells her he needs doctors and specialists, and she needs to get back to her own life, because Taylor is not in school right now. She has ditched school for Max, and she says Max is her life, and when she said that, I'm like, okay, Taylor is way too attached to Max right now, because here's the thing, Max, yes, it is the best thing that she has, but Taylor needs to have her own life, and I agree with what Max said, that Taylor needs to have her own life. She needs to be her own person. She can't rely her life completely on her boyfriend, who might not even have made it. I actually found out that Max was originally supposed to die. They said that. The MTV producer said well, not the MTV producer, but the producer of Finding Carter said that they were planning on killing off Max. They didn't because he was such a fan favorite character. They made a good decision, because I really like this storyline of him kind of being an asshole to everyone, and I thought that was a very good scene. She just refuses to Elizabeth. She tells her she's going to stay with Max for as long as he needs her. But the thing is, he really doesn't need her, and she doesn't realize that. So then, Lori calls Elizabeth, disguised as the counselor, and of course, you know, Elizabeth doesn't realize that it's Lori, because Lori has disguised her voice, and she tells Elizabeth they need to discuss what happened with Carter, at counseling, and they're gonna set up a meeting at the local mall, and Elizabeth agrees to it, obviously. She doesn't seem nothing sketchy to her right now. So Taylor goes back to Max with flowers, and he tells her he's tired of her saying okay. You know, she keeps saying it's all gonna be okay, and he's tired of her saying that because nothing's okay. And she tells him she won't say it anymore, and Taylor has invited in a librarian for him so he can read. I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, seriously. He does not need a librarian. And I agree with Max said. What is he going to do? Read a book? Like, why would he read a book in a hospital room? She's just being way too giving for him and doing way too much for him, definitely. I understand she wants to be a supportive girlfriend. I have no issues with her wanting to be a supportive girlfriend. But there's a difference between being a very supportive girlfriend to him and being too into his life. She needs to be in her own life. She needs to focus on her own life and then be with Max. Max does not come first. Her life comes first, not Max. Her life comes first, and that's just the way it goes. So, basically, he gets really mad at her, and once she tells him that she is taking time off from school, he's just pissed at her, because, and it makes sense why, because he wants her to have her own life, and he just tells her to get out and not come back and stay gone. So, she leaves, obviously really upset, and then Elizabeth is talking to Carter about Lori, and she tells Carter about the therapy, and Carter said, Carter is shocked, because she knows the truth about the therapy. Elizabeth doesn't know, though. And Elizabeth asks her if it's a problem that the therapy's happening, and Carter says it is, and off-screen, Carter tells her why. So they then go to the meeting place, and they stage a plan, and this was a really awesome plan, in my opinion. Basically, their plan is they are going to wait for Lori, and Elizabeth tells her that they're going to arrest Lori. You know, she's going to go to prison for 20 years, and Carter is actually okay with that, because truthfully, Lori is just her kidnapper, and Elizabeth is her true mother. Elizabeth truly does love her, while Lori, she doesn't even know if she cares about her that much. So, she tells her she's going to get Lori because this time she has Carter right by her side, and I thought that was such a sweet line that she said that. Just a really sweet line, in my opinion. And that means everything to her. She has Carter by her side. All that matters to her is Carter, and Carter being by her side is what matters. And that was just such a great scene, in my opinion, when that happened. Really, really great scene there. And, yeah, so that was definitely very good. So, Taylor is back at the hospital, and Max has finally calmed down. And she tells him she knows he's not doing very well, and that he is just lashing out, and she tells him she's really looking forward to him coming home, and he tells her he's not coming home. He's going back to where he was originally from, and not only is he not going to live with, what are their last names? I can't remember their last name. The Wilsons. He's not going to live with the Wilsons. He's not only not going to live with the Wilsons, he's also not going back to, he's also going back to where Carter's originally from. That's where he's going. He's going back to where, he's originally from, and that was really sad, definitely. He says he needs to go back. His family miss him like crazy, and he actually, Taylor agrees that's a good thing, because they need to focus on their own lives, and I thought that was a really good scene, because here's the thing, they do need to focus on their own life. They are, they have their own lives, Max has his own life, Taylor has her own life. They need to focus on their own lives here, and I'm glad that they decided to break up, and I was glad it wasn't really a sad thing. It was sad, but Taylor understood why, and she tells him 6 reallys, and he tells her forever, and they break up. And I thought the 6 reallys thing was really cute, because if you remember the first time they had sex, she said 6 reallys to him, and I thought that was very sweet. So Carter is then looking outside the food court, and Elizabeth is waiting for Lori to come. She sets her whole team up. The team is ready to arrest Lori. She says, get in place for it and everything. And Carter gets food that the waiter says is for her is from her mother. Now, Carter thinks it's from Elizabeth. However, she turns around, and it's Lori. Lori shows up again, and for the first time in the show, Lori was creepy. I'm gonna be honest. Lori was fucking creepy in this scene. Seriously, she was creepy. And she tells her she is so disappointed. If there's one thing she has known being a fugitive all these months is knowing how to hide from the cops. Carter then is starting to feel lightheaded, and we find out that Lori drugged her. Lori drugged Carter. I'm serious. Lori drugged Carter. She then lies to the waiter that Carter had just had dental surgery, and she basically re-kidnaps Carter, and Elizabeth sees her leaving. She screams her name, and Lori gets away re-kidnapping her, and you can just see the amount of tears in Elizabeth's face, and that's how the season ended. that's the end of the season. And wow, was this a great finale. Such a fantastic finale, because now we finally have the Lori plot front and center. You know, this season, they've talked about Lori a little bit, but Lori hasn't been a huge part of the show till now. Lori is now a huge part of the show. I'm really looking forward to next season to see what's going to happen with Carter, because the thing is Carter truly safe with Lori? I don't think she is. I don't think Lori gives a shit about Carter. I think she just wants money and ransom, and that's all she really cares about. Or she just wants to fuck with, you know, their family. That's really all she wants to do. Also, what is David hiding from, you know, Elizabeth and Carter and all them? I definitely feel he's hiding something. There is no way that he is just, you know, there's no way that everything that Lori said is not true. Obviously, he's hiding something from them big time. There's definitely something he's hiding from them. Taylor and Max breaking up, I thought that was the best thing to do. You know, they need to spend some time away from each other, and I'm glad they ended up breaking up. I thought that was really good. Let's talk about the show as a whole. Finding Carter, honestly, guys, was a show that I had not heard about till a few weeks before it premiered, which was during the awkward season finale, and it turned out to be one of the best shows on TV. Finding Carter is by far one of the best shows on TV. It's definitely one of the best thrillers on TV. It is such an intense show, and just such an amazing show. That last scene was amazingly shot, in my opinion. Amazingly shot. I love the way that last scene was shot. Such good acting in that last scene. Such amazing camera work in this episode. The acting in this episode, oh my god, so much good acting. I'm getting a Skype call. I'm going to ignore it because I'm doing this review right now. But just such good acting in this episode. Oh my god, such good acting, such an amazing finale, and I can't wait for next season. Unfortunately, we have to wait till 2015. Yeah, we have to wait till 2015, and that's a real bummer because I absolutely loved the fuck out of this season. Such an amazing show, such an amazing season, and I can't wait for Season 2. Apparently, Season 2, we're also going to find out some of Elizabeth's background, which is going to be interesting to see as well. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen there. I would also like, as I said, a bird-centric episode. We never got that, and I'm looking forward for a bird-centric episode. Also, we didn't really get much conclusion with Crash. All we found out was that he's being arraigned. I actually want to see an episode where he is arraigned and we actually see it. I want to see that episode because I think that'd be a good way for us to get closure to Crash's character. The only way to get closure to Crash's character is to kill him off. That's the only way. That really is the only way to get him, you know, to get Crash's character off the show. I feel I should definitely kill him off. But let me know what you guys saw this season. Overall, oh my god, such a great finale. Sorry I kept getting so many Skype calls. I'm sorry. My friend was on Skype with me. He was listening to my review. That's why you kept hearing the Skype noise when it connects, because it randomly disconnects the call, and I don't know why. So just ignore that. But overall, love this episode. Best episode of the season and the entire show by far. Such a game-changing episode. I love this subplot as well with Max just getting angry at the world and angry at everything because he can't have a successful job. And that's in my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys in my next video, which will be my review for tonight's episode of The Bridge. So I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.